Once there was a king. On some nights, he would disguise himself as a peasant and walk through the streets of his kingdom to see how the rest of his subjects lived and what they believed in. Well, it happened that the king found himself one night on the darkest, narrowest street in the city, and he heard singing, "By-dee-di-di-di-di-di-di." Surely that must be a song of sorrow for someone who has to live in these conditions, he thought, but he followed the sound of the song anyway, and it led him to the poorest, shabbiest, smallest house on the street. "Is a stranger welcome here?" he said as he knocked on the door. "Ah, a stranger is God's gift. Come in." The door opened, and the king, who was disguised as a peasant, saw a man sitting on a box at a table. The man stood up and offered his box to the king to sit down on. And the king said, "Tell me, what do you do to earn a living here?" And the man said, "Why, I cobble shoes." "Oh, you have a store?" "Oh, no, I could never afford a store. Oh, no, I just take that box with the tools in it that you're sitting on, and I go by the side of the road, and whoever comes up that needs their shoes fixing, I cobble their shoes." "Well, how do you make enough money that way?" "Blessed be the one who carries us day by day," said the cobbler. "But what about tomorrow?" "It just happens I make just enough for one day every day." Well, the king was quite puzzled, and so he went back to his castle, and he decided to issue a proclamation. The next day, anyone caught cobbling shoes by the side of the road shall be fined 50 gold coins. And then he waited, and he went back that night to the cobbler's neighborhood, and he listened. "By-yum-di-di-di-di-di-di-di," he heard. Well, he walked over to the house, knocked on the door again. The door opened, and he said, "What did you do today, cobbler? How did you earn enough money? I heard about the proclamation." And the cobbler said, "I know, I was angry. I should be able to earn a living like anyone else." "Well, what did you do then?" "Well, I was just standing there. I looked up and I listened, and then all of a sudden this crowd of people came by. And I asked them where they were going, and they said they were going to the royal forest to gather kindling for firewood. And I said, 'Can I come along?' And they said, 'Yes.' So I spent the whole day there gathering firewood. And at the end of the day, I sold it in the marketplace, and I made just enough money to last me for one day." The king just sputtered, and he was like, "But what about next week?" "Blessed be the one who carries us day by day," said the cobbler. Well, the king decided he was going to go test his faith even worse. So he went back to his castle, and he issued another proclamation. "Anyone caught gathering firewood in the royal forest will be inducted into the royal guard, and they will not be paid for 40 days. And then he waited. That night he went back again to the cobbler's house, and he listened, and this time the song sounded quite military. Well, he opened the door, and there was the cobbler with a sword. And he said, "Cobbler, don't you wish you'd save some money now? You have to wait 40 days, right?" And the cobbler's like, "Well," he said, "what did you do?" He said, "Well, I was standing at attention, and I looked down at my sword, and I thought, that must be worth something. And so I pulled it out of the scabbard, and I took it home, and I fashioned one made of wood, and I stuck it in the handle. And then I took the sword to the marketplace, and I made just enough money to last me for 40 days. The king was furious. He blew smoke out of his ears, but he was trying to hide it. He laughed. He said, "What if there's sword inspection tomorrow?" The cobbler said, Say it, please. Blessed be the one who carries us day by day. Well, the king went back the next day. The cobbler is standing in line at attention, and 2 guards come up with a criminal in chains. And they said, "Cobbler, you have been chosen. This is a criminal. He has committed crimes. You will take off his head." "What? I have never even killed a fly," said the cobbler. "I couldn't take a human life." "If you do not kill him, you too shall be killed," they said. And so the cobbler took the criminal by the arm, and they walked towards the town square where a great crowd had gathered. They got to the chopping block, and the cobbler gently put him down with his head on the block, and then he stood up and he made his own proclamation. He said, "As God is my witness, I am no murderer. If this man is guilty of his crimes, may my sword be as it always was. But if he is not, may my sword be changed to wood." Then he pulled out his sword, and the people fell to their knees about the miracle that had just happened. And the king stepped out of the crowd, and he walked right up to the cobbler, and he looked him in the eyes, and he said, "Cobbler, I'm the king. I'm also the friend that visited you the past few nights." And the cobbler shook his head. He said, "Would you come live with me in my palace? Would you be my advisor? Would you teach me how to live one day at a time?" And the cobbler said, "Why, certainly." And they both went off in a big dance singing, "Bye-yum-di-di-di-di-di-di-di-di." Thank you.